Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into what I think is one of the most fascinating, honestly kind of mind-blowing sensory mysteries of the modern digital age. We're exploring a phenomenon that millions of people experience literally every single day. Yet science? Well, science is only just beginning to map the whole shebang out. So, here's a question for you. Have you ever felt this weird, static-like tingling right on your scalp when someone whispers nearby? Or, I don't know, maybe when a stylist is gently brushing your hair? Maybe you felt it watching someone trace their fingers over a map, or just listening to the slow, methodical sound of turning book pages. It's this highly specific physical sensation, a wash of relaxation that feels, well, kind of like carbonated bubbles in a glass of champagne. For the longest time, people who felt this thought they were completely alone in the experience. There was no way to describe it, no words for this bizarre yet deeply familiar comfort. But as it turns out, they were far from alone. Section 1. The Whispering Internet Phenomenon. Okay, let's dive into this. To understand the science, we first have to understand the strange, booming digital culture that actually brought this brain tingle out of the shadows and onto our screens. Just listen to what creator Nanu ASMR says here. This is the Neumann KU100. It costs $10,000. We have some mouth sounds today waiting for you. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. $10,000. Creators are dropping the price of a literal car on microphones perfectly engineered to capture 3D binaural audio. They build whole rooms completely draped in sound-dampening fabrics just to capture the hyper-crisp sound of whispering or tapping or, popping candy. The lengths these creators go to for the perfect audio trigger are absolutely extreme, and their dedication is entirely driven by massive audience demand. And when I say massive, I mean staggering. 25 million. That is the estimated number of ASMR videos uploaded to YouTube by the year 2022. 25 million. This isn't just some tiny niche corner of the internet anymore. This is a massive global cultural movement. Millions of us are actively seeking out these specific audiovisual triggers just to induce that elusive feeling of relaxation. A really huge part of this media landscape revolves around clinical role play. Take creator Kate ASMR, for example, who whispers, "I'm just gonna massage your scalp. This brush looks daunting, but I promise it's nothing scary." In these videos, creators simulate haircuts, medical exams, or spa treatments right into the camera lens. And it perfectly demonstrates the strangely intimate, almost altruistic nature of this media. The viewer gets this simulated, tender, personal attention. It taps into a deep human craving to be cared for, safely and quietly, without any of the messy real-world social pressure. Section 2. Defining the brain tingle. All right, so what is actually happening to the people watching these 25 million videos? Let's transition from the internet phenomenon to the clinical reality and systematically peel back the layers of this reflex. So the term ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. Now, you might think this was coined by some top-tier neuroscientist in a lab, right? Actually, scratch that. It was coined back in 2010 by a woman named Jennifer Allen, who was just trying to organize an online community around the feeling. And what's brilliant here is that she intentionally engineered this term to sound completely objective, comfortable, and clinical. Before this, people on forums were using words like orgasm to describe the euphoric rush, which, as you can imagine, led to a ton of stigma. By picking words like autonomous for self-governing and meridian to represent a peak, Allen completely legitimized it. She gave people a safe vocabulary to discuss what is essentially just a state of low-grade euphoria and static-like tingling. Let's move to and see how this builds across the human body. Medical professionals call this general type of skin tingling paresthesia, but ASMR follows its own highly distinct map. Step 1, it almost always starts right at the back of the head or the scalp. Step 2, as the audiovisual trigger keeps going, the sensation propagates downwards, right into the neck and shoulders. Step 3, in really intense cases, it travels straight down the spine and branches out into the arms and legs. It's a highly localized physical reflex driven entirely by external sights and sounds. Section 3, the anatomy of a trigger. So what actually flips the switch? Let's look at the concept of triggers, the highly specific stimuli required to precipitate this physical cascade. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the hard data. We have incredible numbers from a pivotal 2015 peer-reviewed study by Barrett and Davis, who quantified what the community already knew. Look at the dominance here. 75% of capable individuals are triggered by whispering, 69% by personal attention, 64% by crisp sounds, think metallic foil or tapping fingernails, Slower movements and repetitive tasks rank super high too. It basically tells us our brains are deeply, evolutionarily wired to respond to soft, intricate, detail-oriented human behaviors. And that brings us to a really crucial distinction we absolutely need to clarify. Because of the intimate nature of the whispering and role play, critics often confuse ASMR with sexual arousal. But the data cleanly separates the two. The vast majority of the ASMR community actively rejects adult content. Instead, researchers like Professor David Huron suggest we should frame ASMR alongside primate grooming behaviors. When primates groom each other, it's not just about getting clean, right? It's an expression of altruistic attention and non-threat bonding that triggers enormous pleasure, bordering on euphoria. ASMR videos are basically hijacking that exact same biological software, offering us digital social grooming. Section 4, misophonia, frisson, and synesthesia. To really understand the mechanics of ASMR, scientists have found it incredibly helpful to compare it to other known neurological conditions. Let's isolate exactly how unusual this brain wiring is. First up, consider misophonia. This brilliantly illustrates how the human brain can wire mundane sound to extreme emotion in polar opposite ways. While ASMR gives you a rush of pleasure and relaxation from the sound of chewing, whispering, or tapping, misophonia is an automatic, overwhelming feeling of anger or disgust from those exact same mundane sounds. It's literally two sides of the same neurological coin, the brain attaching intense, involuntary, emotional weight to quiet, everyday noise. Then we have frisson. If you've ever listened to a killer piece of music and suddenly got a massive wave of goosebumps and an emotional chill, yeah, that's frisson. While fMRI scans actually show that ASMR and frisson activate similar major brain regions, the subjective experience is totally different. Frisson is an intense, brief, emotionally overwhelming rush. ASMR, it's a sustained, relaxing, static-like tingling linked to flow and profound calmness. And finally, there's a fascinating connection to synesthesia. In that Barat and Davis study, they found that 5.9% of their ASMR sample experienced synesthesia. That is notably higher than the general population. Synesthesia is basically when the brain crosses its wires, like seeing colors when you hear music or tasting words. This suggests ASMR might actually be a form of audio-tactile or visual-tactile synesthesia. You watch a visual or hear an audio stimulus, and it triggers a very real secondary tactile sensation of being physically touched. Pretty wild, right? Section 5, Science, Flow, and Therapy. All right, moving to our final and perhaps most impactful section. We're shifting focus to see how this internet mystery evolved into documented physiological mastery. If we walk through this timeline of legitimacy, it's clear ASMR isn't some new fad. We just didn't have a name for it. Way back in 1925, Virginia Woolf actually wrote a passage in her novel Mrs. Dalloway about a nursemaid's voice that rasped his spine deliciously and sent running up into his brainwaves of sound. Fast forward to 2007, an internet forum user named OKWhatever posts about a mysterious physical sensation, sparking a massive online discussion. By 2010, the ASMR term is coined, and by 2015, the first peer-reviewed study is published. Over decades, an obscure literary description completely transformed into a scientifically verified reflex. So, the crucial point is understanding how to actually access it. Researchers have discovered a strong link to the flow state. You know, that intense state of focus, that diminished awareness of time you feel when you are completely absorbed in a task. The data shows that an individual's susceptibility to experiencing ASMR triggers is highly correlated with their ability to enter this meditative flow state. Basically, if you can't focus, if you can't quiet the noise of the room, you likely aren't going to achieve those physical tingles. And why does unlocking this state matter so much? The resulting data here is truly incredible. When surveyed, 80% of participants reported an improved mood after engaging with ASMR. But here is the real game changer, what you really should take away from this. Researchers noted that the greatest benefit, the most significant spikes in positive mood, were actually seen in individuals with higher depression scores. People are literally self-medicating with digital whispers. To summarize the profound real-world impacts here, ASMR is rapidly moving out of the realm of YouTube oddity and squarely into the realm of therapeutic tool. Studies show it offers temporary relief from depression symptoms. It provides a significant reduction in chronic pain discomfort for hours after a viewing session. It acts as a powerful non-pharmacological sleep aid for those battling insomnia, and it delivers rapid stress and anxiety relief. Millions of people are using these videos to tangibly manage their mental and physical health every single day. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. We went from a weird internet forum post to discovering a tangible tool for pain and depression management triggered simply by the sound of a whisper or the crinkle of paper. As we continue to discover the physiological power of these digital whispers, what other hidden, deeply wired brain reflexes are just sitting there waiting to be unlocked? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I hope you walk away looking at the world and perhaps listening to it just a little bit differently.